Good morning and welcome from Brooklyn, New York. I'm doing the introduction today for Dr. Jeffrey A. Olson. He serves as the president of Nightingale College after previously serving as the vice president of learner experience and provost at the college. He's dedicated 8 years of services to the college, and he has over 2 decades of educational experience in a variety of public, private, for-profit, and non-for-profit corporate and healthcare settings in both classroom and administrative capacities. His dissertation was a phenomenological study of teacher orientation to the subject of social studies and the perception, application, and use of technology aligned to that orientation. Dr. Olson holds a bachelor's degree in history from Brigham Young University, a master's degree in secondary social studies education from Pacific Lutheran University, a master's degree in instructional design and technology from Western Illinois University, and a doctorate degree in instructional technology and learning sciences from Utah State University. Dr. Jeffrey Olson. Sure.
It's always awkward in a small room to have a clap, right? But here we are. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. I am Dr. Jeffrey Olson, and I am excited to be in beautiful Brooklyn, New York today. I did want to give a little shout out to the people I was watching the feed right before I was coming on, watching where everyone is coming from. California, Colorado, Alaska, all over the country we have people who are chiming in saying where they're from. I love to see that. We have got people everywhere. And to give you a little feel as we're jumping in, I'm going to run through a quick orientation to Nightingale College, what you've embarked on. We're going to start with a little introduction of who you are, this cohort, this group that's starting now. We're then going to talk a little bit more about the journey that this group is going to be going on and the resources that are there and what we are then as a college institution that are here to help provide the service of that education and the resources that we're going to put out to help you to be as successful as you possibly can. So that's kind of how we're going to break down the day. I do want to just jump right in. As we talk about people coming from all over the country, we're going to get a little feel for who this cohort is. Here you are. This is where we're all coming from. We are scattered all across the country. You can see California, you're pretty highly represented. How you feel out there? 5,000 of you? Over 5,000 in California. There's a lot. We also have over 155 just in Anchorage, up to Fairbanks in Alaska up there. Large learner population up in Alaska. 241 out of Colorado. I saw several of them chiming in the chat there. We've got people all across. Here in the New York metropolitan and kind of northeastern area, we've got about 69 in New York, 75 in Pennsylvania, 63 in Maryland. Kind of growing in this area. It's a newer marketing space, so I know it's just really starting to pick up. With people knowing who we are out here, but we're very excited to be here today. When we do these New Learner Welcome Forums, we like to, yes, we have a lot of people in California, and we do go to California. We were there actually the last New Learner Welcome Forum in the LA area. Now we're all the way across the country in New York. We're looking at potentially heading down to Oklahoma City, perhaps in the next one. We were up in Coeur d'Alene before that. We go to a variety of different spaces across the country, large cities and smaller communities. And part of the reason behind not just going to the major cities is you can see we have learners everywhere. Highly represented, not highly represented in their states, but we're growing. And any learner who wants to be a nurse is important to Nightingale. So we try to get ourselves out to a variety of different locations across the country and pull those folks in, let them know that we do care. We're not just focused in metropolitan regions. We do want to go to some of the smaller areas in the country too. Every nurse who wants to join the nursing profession is important. So if we haven't made it out to your area yet, we are trying. We will continue to go to different zones and different parts of the country. We're doing meet and greets and activities in those areas too to try to pull people together so you can make connections, noting that we are very much an online institution. So we want to try to still build those communities with learners near you so you can get to know each other and support each other as you're going through this journey. So again, a feel for where we are across the country. We are all over the place. We've got people from coast to coast, up and down. With that too, noting more about your population here. Age, 91% of the learners at Nightingale College are not what are considered the traditional college age of being under 24. With that same, 77% of the population of Nightingale is non-white. Now, the reason why we have it divided between non-white and white is simply because the nursing profession overall has traditionally been almost 90% white and female. So we look at, with the diversification of care, we know that the outcomes of people receiving care improve when the people providing care represent those receiving care. As the nation becomes more diverse, we need more people that don't look like me providing care so that those population, the outcomes are better for those populations. So we're looking at this as we are continuing to be part of the solution in widely diversifying the profession, even if it's a little outsized now, because we have a lot to overcome in those numbers to really have representative communities providing care. So we count that as a success to know we have a lot of individuals coming in from diverse backgrounds. With that too, first time, full time, you can see only 6% of our population have never had a college experience before, that this is their first college experience with us. Now what that really means is that you're coming with experience from other places. You've already had experience in college, you've been through this game a little bit. Even if you were not successful in your prior degree, you have experience. You played the game a little bit. And so we recognize that you're coming with a lot of experience that is helpful in supporting you in this journey. Additionally, we have a 40% of our population are what the federal government referred to as Pell recipients. That's a federal financial aid term, which gets into the next one, which is 56 are potentially earning less than $50,000 a year right now. So we know that a lot of people are coming into nursing in this space as an economic driver. There's a wonderful career, good pay, at the end of the opportunity of becoming a nurse, moving into that field. But a lot of people are in some pretty trying or struggled situations right now in getting themselves into a place where they can provide in that way. So we recognize that there's some hardship that you're going through as you're going through school as well. And that means we also need to be attentive to providing services to support while you're in school as well. So that's why we look at those numbers. And additionally out here, suburban, rural, and urban. So looking at the different settings that people are in. As we mentioned, we've got some large population centers right now that have a lot of individuals. Looking at you, California. And with that, with large populations in large city centers, it is an outsized group that exists in there, but we're extremely proud and hopeful that we can continue to expand into more of these micropolitan and rural environments, as we also know that where there is healthcare, there are stable communities. So where healthcare disappears in rural America, those communities die. They disappear. People move to larger environments where they can get that healthcare, and that means those communities fold. So we also are spending a lot of time focusing on what we can do to support rural America, as that is both an economic and a stabilizing force within those spaces. Again, that means we can't ignore the cities too, obviously. There's lots of care needs within those cities. So we're happy to have a balance and increasing supporting some of those rural spaces. So this is a little bit about who you are, where you're coming from in that space. One more thing of note in here is looking at the number of facilities that we have. When you do your DFCs, or what we call them, they're part of your experiential learning. Traditionally, some institutions refer to them as clinicals, but there's more involved than just patient-facing clinical environments. It's part of experiential learning. But when you do the direct focused care as part of your program, there is travel, which was explained in your admission cycle, that you will need to do. This shows you where our facilities, our partner facilities, are located throughout the country. You'll note, notably, we showed in the first graph over 5,000 in California, and you'll note not one is listed on this map. The reason behind that is because the state of California has legal requirements that say that we are not allowed to perform rotations in the state. We have some legislative action right now to try to change that, but in the meantime, all those wonderful Californians are traveling all across the country. So you can see we have a lot of facilities that are located in the west to help try to accommodate a lot of the California travel, but there's a lot here across the country in different spaces that are to help support the population everywhere. You can see here in the New York area, most of your travel is going to be here. We can still do the Northeast, but it'll be Maine or Pennsylvania predominantly in that same space. California, again, will be anywhere in the country where we can find the space to accommodate the volume right now, and there are some parameters around that too, as to how we arrange that. But just so you have a feel of where we have facilities across the country right now. Again, some of the states that we don't have partners in, it doesn't mean we don't have partners. It just means we're not posting them on the map because we're not allowed by state law right now to do rotations in those environments. And so until some legislation changes, these are the spaces in which we have partners that are eligible for us to rotate. So just to give you a feel of what that's going to look like when we start to get into those. We'll talk a little bit more about your experiential learning near the end of the presentation. Just wanted to give you a feel for that as we talk about population and then where we have facility space where we're going to be talking about experiential learning. All right. So let's get into some of the meat of this. That's who you are as a population coming into the institution. All over the place, varied experiences. The vast majority of you are a little older than the traditional college learner, which is fabulous. But that also means that you're coming with some struggle. You likely have care needs, you have family or children, you have parents perhaps who need care. A lot of you have other things on your plate. Most of you are working. Many of you are in situations where you may have been married and are now divorced with care needs that exist in that environment. Some of you may have care needs and be single entirely and have things for parents or others that you're caring for as a member of an extended family. But that really means that a lot of you are coming with a lot more on your plate than the typical college learner who goes to a state school and stays residential on campus. So the journey is going to look differently for you. The journey of what we talk about is your learner journey. So let's look at that a little more. Why are you here? Not existentially, not religiously, but why are you here trying to get a nursing education? What's your why for what you're hoping to achieve? With that, why go through all of this? Nursing school is not easy. Anyone who's been through any school, which the majority of you have, knows that school is not easy. Nursing school in particular is not easy. So why go through all this? And finally, what is your anticipated end goal? What are you hoping to see? When all of the studying is done, when all the experiential learning is over, when you've got your nurse license and you're able to go into a facility, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Let's talk a little bit more about this journey, this educational side of this journey, and we're going to look at it through a bit of a nerdy lens, because I'm nerdy, and unfortunately you have to be with me for a few minutes. So we're going to be a little nerdy together. Professor Joseph Campbell was a professor of mythology, and he wrote what he called the hero's journey. Now, how he got to the hero's journey is he looked at mythology, creation stories, religious societies, and the stories that they tell, and he combined all the storytelling that he could find that helped to shape lives across the country. So secular, religious, all of them, he put them all together, and he found that they all shared very similar things. And those things he put into this 17-point piece in here, which he called the hero's journey. Things that they go through in becoming the best version of who they are. So this goes everything from Hercules to stories in the Bible, or stories in the Vedas, or stories in the Bhagavad Gita. They all follow a similar pattern and model in here, and even our pop culture. Being nerdy, as I said, I'll reference a few of the pop culture ones, as it's something that becomes less controversial, right? So we've got Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Two easy stories to put into the hero's journey. Star Wars, we have Luke Skywalker, and in the Lord of the Rings, we have Frodo. And within those stories, they go through an epic tale, multi-story movie arc, which gives us the story of how they got to the next place in their adventure, right? We usually stop at a certain point in that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but we'll use those as an example of kind of how their story may fit into what we're talking about for the learner journey. Now, I'm not going to go through all 17 steps today. I think I would lose everyone in the room and probably more than half the broadcast. So we're going to say that with that, we're going to simplify it down to 3 steps. And you can see them in the inner circle there. So you've got the numbers, and then in the inner circle there, you've got separation, initiation, and return. So those steps are going to be simplified into just those 3. So let's jump into the first one. The first one is separation. In the separation, in the stories, you have the individuals, and we plot this beautiful image of where they start, who they are today. We talk about Frodo in the Shire. We talk about Luke on the farm in Tatooine, right? They're both in their respective locations. And they have their life with their families. In some ways, they build it as an idyllic environment. And then our story begins. When you think about that, this could also be you. Think of yourself last night at home. That's where you're starting. That's your idyllic beginning to your saga. That is your hero's journey initiation point. And within that, you hear the call. The call for us in this room, starting this orientation, is to become a nurse, is to get your RN, right? Some of you are in some of the earlier programs. You're looking at a PN license. Some of you are going for the ASN to RN. Others are here in the BSN going to the RN. We're here to get to the next level of a nursing degree, right? Whatever that looks like for you on the broadcast here. With that, you have a chance. You can accept or reject the call. We have, if we look at Lord of the Rings, he had a call to adventure. He's still in the Shire. He gets the ring. He gets to decide whether he gets to go on this journey or not. Luke on the farm. Unfortunately, his family gets destroyed by passing marauders. Does he go on an adventure or does he rebuild? He could have stayed or he could have gone. He chose to go. Frodo chose to go on his journey with the Fellowship of the Ring, right? We have people who are sent on the call. We have the same thing with other myths and legends. Hercules has his call to action before he begins his feats. All the great epics have this kind of moment where the hero has a chance to say yes or no. I do it or I don't. I go or I stay. No blame, no shame. You get to make a choice, right? With that, if you choose to accept the call to adventure, you get a mentor. All these stories get a mentor. Frodo gets his Gandalf. Luke gets his Obi-Wan, right? They all end up with someone who helps support them on that journey. They get some support model that helps them to wander through that path. With that, if they say yes to the journey, they get their mentor and they start to receive aid. In some of these stories, they're supernatural aids. Some of them, the Greek mythology, they have the Athena who brings blessings and gifts, or Apollo who bestows these wonderful things that help their individuals along the way. Luke gets his lightsaber, right? They all get something that supports them along their journey. Some of those are supernatural aids. Some of them are simply supports. They're aids. They're people along the journey who support them. Frodo got Sam, right? A companion for that journey who walked with him and supported him as he went through his journey. But as soon as they decide that they're going to go, they've got their models in place of what's going to be there for them, they embark on the journey. They do what he calls crossing the threshold. That's walking out from the door and deciding that this is the journey for them. They're now ready to embark on this path. The thing that we don't know at the beginning of those journeys are what are their limitations and what are they going to face. We don't know yet. That hasn't happened. We're in a similar boat in this learning space. You've heard the call to become a nurse. All of you have gone through an admission cycle. You've been accepted that this journey can begin for you. If this is the time and you're ready to commit to that, there's lots that we're going to talk about of what we have in place to provide you a mentor, to provide you supports, to provide you aids, to help you to get this journey started. But it's still up to you. This journey is still yours. So we have a moment here. For the next 2 weeks, this week and next, till Friday, is a period that's called add drop. Well, that's a federal legislation term that's in schools. If you've been through school before, you're familiar with an add drop period. What that is you have 2 weeks, no blame, no shame, no harm done. If you elect that this is not the time for you, you can elect not to start this journey. No money has been truly spent, right? The federal financial aid doesn't get vested until after the 2-week period, so that money can be returned. You're only out an admissions fee, and at that point, it's okay. If this isn't the time for you, try again later. That's okay. But we want to make sure that you have a moment to breathe, to make sure that you're committed, to make sure that you're ready to start this journey to cross the threshold and begin. If you are, let's jump in. The next part here is looking at it from the initiation. Now, the initiation here He's got all kinds of really dark names in here, right? It looks very intimidating. The Road of Trials, Meeting the Goddess, Temptation, the Dark Night of the Soul, right? There's lots of really deep terms there. It sounds really painful. I'm not going to minimize that. The initiation phase is hard. School is hard. And with this population, as we showed at the beginning, you have other things that are hard, that are also weighing on you. Financially, with family, your time commitments, your jobs, there are a whole lot of other things that are on your path. Let's not pretend they're not there. They are there, and they're gonna crop up. And it seems like every time a hero starts the journey, things get tougher. I don't know why, it just seems to happen. More things crop up, more problems emerge, more rocks get in the path, more people stumble. It's just the nature of the journey itself. When you cross that threshold to do something hard, more hard things come up. So as we're looking at that, let's just think about that for a minute. Within your environment, now again, we have over 1,000 people who are starting here. So I don't know your individual starts, your individual journeys, or the individual struggles that you're going with. I want you to take just a second and think, what are some of the hard things that exist in your space? What's going on in your family, with your finances, with your home, children, childcare, if that exists, or your parents? There's a lot of heavy stuff. It's not gonna go away when you start this journey. And we need to be really aware of that, because those things are also gonna tug at your attention, at your time, at your ability to do schoolwork, and we need to plan for that. And we need to really think ahead about what that's gonna be for you. I'm sorry, this is getting real heavy real fast. There is hope, but we need to be very realistic at the outset here about what we're getting into so that we can plan ahead. So within here, there's lots of temptations. There's temptations to lure them away from the path. There are always those opportunities that we hear in those stories. Don't do this, here's something else. This will be easier, this will be softer, the path is simpler, take this other journey. Or, now's not the time, you're not capable, you can't do this. Other people are better suited. You're not the one for this. This is not your opportunity. Again, those are attempts to lure away. With that too, themes that come up in these epic stories include themes of love, things that they have to overcome, the trials, the journeys. There's all kinds of those if we look at even just the regular pop culture ones. Shelob, the snake in Lord of the Rings, or the spider in Lord of the Rings. We have the wraiths and other creatures that come out of the woodwork that try to stop Frodo. We have all kinds of pieces when we get into Star Wars. Stormtroopers finding out about his father, trying to get trained. I mean, there's all kinds of obstacles to try to get things moving. He's got a whole empire against him while he tries to move forward in his epic journey, right? We look at Hercules. He had his trials, multiple mythical creatures and things that he had to fight to get to the next level to prove that he could be a god. All of those epic stories, all of those pop culture stories, they all follow major themes: love, power, even life and death. I've been through lots of schooling, as you heard at the top. I have yet to have a piece of my journey that did not suffer some form of loss. It happens. People leave us on the trail. For whatever reason, there have been deaths in my family. There have been others who have been close, who have chosen to take other paths. I had to still keep going in the educational journey. I chose to make that journey. I had to have my moment to mourn and to continue on. I'm not going to pretend it's not hard, and I'm not going to pretend like it's easy. But we need to be very realistic that these kinds of things may come up on your journey. Again, I don't know what your situation looks like, if it will or won't, but we have to be very realistic about what can get in the way of being successful here. Ultimately, it comes down to those moments You may continue on your journey, you may not. Lots of people fall off their hero's journey. The ones that make it into pop culture or into the myths or into religious texts, those are successful stories. Those are people who persevered through all the odds and made it. And those stories are inspiring. We all love them. We all want to watch them because those are the stories that we relate to and draw strength from. And I'm hoping that all of you, as you're thinking about what may get in the way, you're also thinking about how you can be a success story that will encourage and inspire others. The success is what we're trying to get to and what we're committing to support with. So, being very realistic about the struggles we may find, there are also good things, right? We get to the other end. This is the return. Now, when we watch the movies will always stop at this moment of great triumph, right? There's a celebration, and we're done. One of the great things that we saw in Lord of the Rings, as much as it was lampooned and talked about, with 13 endings, everyone talked about, they just kept going about the ending and more endings, was he gave us part of the return. We don't normally get that. The movie ends as soon as we have this moment of relief. We made it through the road of trials. We made it through the victory. We're now out of the initiation period. Ooh, he's a hero. Well, what happens next? We stop. The return is just as important as the start. Who you become, what lessons you draw, what you're going to ultimately be is part of this journey is as important as how you started. So it's one thing I love about that is that it does give us those endings because we need to be thinking too at the outset. That's why we started with part of that question. Who do you ultimately want to become? I didn't say what you want to have. That's your nursing license at whatever level you're currently pursuing. That's what you're going to have. Who do you want to be? What lessons do you want to pull from this journey? It's going to be hard. There's going to be lots of things that may try to pull you off the path. They're just going to be, it's hard. It's the journey. It's what it is. But those things shape who you are. So who do you want to be at the end? What lessons do you want to draw? When things get hard, what was your why at the beginning? Because that's what you're going for. The license is something you hold. It's what you have. It's not who you are. So who are you going to be? The license can shape part of that journey, but it isn't ultimately you. So as we're talking about getting this degree, going through this struggle, coming to this new place, we should be thinking about that as well. And again, it's work to retain the wisdom gained, even share it with the wider world. Find balance again, right? Where the hero is genuinely transformed and the journey becomes part of the hero, is how Joseph Campbell refers to it. One thing we find, if we go back to Lord of the Rings as a reference point, because again, they gave us so many endings, we get to follow that journey. Frodo goes back to the Shire, right? He started in the Shire, he goes back to the Shire. Everything sounds great. He's back to this wonderful, pleasant place, but he's been changed. He's new. Does he stay in the Shire? He doesn't. He decides to go out again. He decides to go out on a new adventure. He's been ultimately shaped by this experience and changed, where he started is not where he wants to end. That's part of the return. That's part of this journey, is changing who we are and reshaping ourselves to become a new person through the challenges we may face. So, want to throw that into the space as we're talking about this journey, right? We're right now in the initiation stage. We're right now in that first part. We've heard the call to become a nurse at whatever level we're currently pursuing. We're ready to start that journey. We've got 2 weeks to make the choice, seeing life get in the way, looking at our courses, figuring out what's going to happen with our finances and family, all of that. We've got a 2-week window here to make sure that we're committed. We're ready to start this journey. After that, we have a period of time that's going to be hard. School is hard. Life is hard in the middle of that. Life doesn't go away while you start school. So with life being hard and school getting tough, it simply adds to the struggles of life. So knowing that, lots of planning, thinking around getting in and doing our best. And then we also should be thinking about, as we're thinking about the why start this journey, and who will I ultimately be at the end of this journey? Who do I want to be? What is that ultimate end point of the human being I want people to think about when they think about who I am and my legacy? So as we're getting started in this journey, it's why I spend time on this, is I think it's a good metaphor for what we're talking about for the educational journey. Things to think about as we're getting started, making plans, thinking ahead, knowing the trials and the struggles and the difficulty we're going to have, and what we need to do to think through and overcome those. And ultimately, where I like to think most is, who do I want to be? What's my why? What ultimately do I want to become as a result of this journey? And how can I have this journey help transform me into that person? With that then, again, as I mentioned, we're in the initiation stage. You've heard the call. We have 12 days to commit. That means from today till next Friday, next week Friday. That's your deadline. About noon is the timeline you need to let the registrar know if you just are not ready. Other things are in the way. You need to balance some priorities in life before this journey gets much harder, because school gets hard on top of hard life. If you need that extra time, no harm, no foul, no blame. It's just not the time. I'd rather you know it's not the time and make a choice than to start and not complete. Nothing makes me personally more distraught, sad, unhappy, is to know that we've had learners start the journey and fall off, partly because you now have debt and no way to pay it off. So we have not improved your life, we've made it worse. So I will say that again. Our commitment is to try to support you to get through the entirety of the journey as best we possibly can, because we ultimately want you to get to your why and better your life. If you're able to fall off before that, it feels like a personal failure, because we have not met our goal to help you to become the best version of yourself. So again, I encourage you to spend some time to make sure you're ready. Admissions are fabulous. They've told you all the potential struggles. They've given you some warnings. They've let you know our path. They've let you know the journey. It's now for you to make the choice. Is this your time? Is this the time for the call to be answered? Again, I also encourage you 2 additional pieces. What is the purpose of your why in your journey? This is your first homework assignment, and it's voluntary. But I would encourage you very strongly to do it. Write out your why. Why are you here? What do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to be? Write it out for you. If you're willing, and I would encourage you to do this, I would encourage you to share it with your learner support services strategist. So they're going to be reaching out. You should have an email in your email from them introducing themselves, welcoming you to the college, letting you know that they're here for you, and they will be your mentor for this journey. While you'll have faculty that are amazing, and I love our faculty, they won't be with you all the time, right? They have their courses that they teach. You'll see them periodically through the program, but they're not with you all the time. They're one of the supports. Your LSS will be with you day 1 to graduation. So introduce yourself. Let them know who you are. And if you're willing, share your why. When things get tough, when the journey gets super rocky and you're looking for some additional support, they can help remind you of your why and help you to try to find opportunities to overcome obstacles so you can keep going. That is our ultimate goal, is to help you to get to whatever degree you're currently seeking so that you can get to your why. So again, if you're willing, I'd encourage you, please write down your why, if for no other reason, to remind yourself, to set out your trajectory, to set the course. And if willing, please share it with your LSS strategist so that they can be there for you. They can be that mentor. They can be that guide. They can be your personal Sam through your whole journey, helping to remind you, supporting you, and making sure that we do all we can to get you through. Okay? Feeling good? All right. Sorry, that was a lot of heavy. We breathing? We feeling okay? Do we need to take a minute for a cleansing breath? All right. So, all right. A couple of other things that we have in place. Again, I want to talk about supports, right? I'm not Athena. I can't give you a magical device, but I can provide additional resources. Some of the things that we have in place to help provide some support, we have the Learner Resource Library, phenomenal people in our library and support centers. We have a math and a writing center. They can help you with your writing, they can help you with your math skills. I know for most of us, and I will put myself very much in that category, math is not my favorite thing at all. In fact, I've been very fortunate through my career to not have to do a ton of math. I've done lots of statistics and lots of foreign languages, but not lots of heavy math. So I feel you, math's not my favorite. With that though, we do have the Math Center. They're fantastic. They will help and support you. Please lean on them. Please lean on your instructors if that is an area that you're not happy with. It's not a happy place for me. I use all the resources I can get. Those exist, as well as the English, and we're working on building out a little bit more of a robust science center, but we also have resources in science right now already that are there for your ability to be successful. So again, please reach out to the Resource Center to get some additional help. Additionally, your learner support strategist, as I mentioned before, that's your designated mentor. That's your Obi-Wan. That's your Sam. They're going to be with you in the journey to try to help and support you. So please use them. Engage with them. If you have a huge family crisis that crops up, child in the hospital, something like that, that can impact and will impact, let's be honest, what's happening in school, reach out to them. They can help with support and coordinate with your faculty and try to work with extended deadlines where possible or necessary so that you don't end up falling out over something that you had no control over to begin with, okay? Use them. They're there for you. They're there to support you. They're there to help make the journey a little bit more navigable, right? And again, we need to be very deliberate about this, and this is very true. School needs to be scheduled in, not blended in. I've tried to do both. When I started online learning, which I did myself through my first bachelor's degree, I did a lot of online learning. A lot of it was at my own discretion. I didn't have the supports that we've tried to build in here. And a lot of these supports are built off of experience I've had where I needed that, and it didn't exist. I had lots of experience where I thought, oh, I'll get to it. I'll figure out the time. It's fine. I've got other things. I can't do it today. I'll get to it tomorrow, or I'm going to do it Thursday. And then Thursday comes around, and there's always something on Thursday that there is no hope in Hades I'm ever going to get to that assignment. So we need to be very deliberate. Do your best to think about scheduling in the time for school, not feeling like you'll find the time. Found time does not exist now. Most of us have hobbies we've never seen. So if this is going to be part of what you're hoping to achieve, schedule it. Don't think you're going to find the time in some magic space. And again, how do I access some of these resources? Again, you can start with your learner support strategist. They'll help to navigate. And again, any of the other resources that we have, if you're just having a hard time, if you need help trying to find scheduled time, if you need help trying to figure out how to blend it in and fit it in and schedule it in, call your strategist. That is their job. They're there to help support you, to help find resources to get you to where you want to be, okay? With that, also want to mention this. It's a lovely graphic, very visual. We like to have graphics. This is what is referred to in the research as 8 dimensions of wellness. So this is just a helpful tool. Does it cover everything in a person's dynamic life? No, of course not. But it is a helpful tool to consider dimensions of who we are as people and where things might be a little bit distended, pulled, tugged in weird and interesting ways. So we can think about how we can create wholeness in our life. So I have some questions here that I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in, but I encourage you to kind of read through and consider for yourself as we're looking at this. You coming to school, you're bringing your whole self. That means the good, the bad, the struggle, the beautiful, all of it's coming. Now, wherever you happen to be, some of these dimensions may not be perfect right now, right? You might be struggling in a few places. And I'll explain it this way. If you have one of these that's pulling really hard because it's not quite where it needs to be, because you don't feel totally settled in that, what's it going to do to all those interconnected parts? It's going to tug. It's going to look really awkward. You're going to be struggling. You're going to be trying so hard to fix this thing that other things are not going to be attended to, right? That's just the nature of it. We as people, we only have so much attention and so much time. So if we're tugging really hard on one of these, because it's a struggle place, are we going to have time necessarily for our own personal emotional health? Are we going to have time for our own intellectual development? Maybe for our own physical fitness? Maybe not for our own spiritual well-being, whatever that looks like for you, whether that's a religious community or a personal conviction. We probably don't. We probably don't. Those things are going to be pulled in ways that are going to tug on all the other elements. So when we think about being prepared to take on school, and we think about this journey, I encourage you to think about, what are your dimensions of wellness? What's tugging today? What's pulling on you? What might get in the way of your ability to have balance in these areas? Again, I can't answer that for you. It's entirely up to you. But we're aware of this in the college, and we recognize while we're really focused on a few of these, right? We're focused on your intellectual development, we're interested in your financial futures, we're interested in trying to focus on your occupational components, right? You think of a traditional institution, that's what we're here for. We're here to improve your future state. We're here to get you to a place where that future state looks great. But you bring your whole soul. You bring it all. So again, we have resources in place to try to help and support you, but we can't control all of your dimensions of wellness. So we want you to be very aware of and really think about what might be pulling on you that may make it more challenging to be successful in any aspect of your life, and try to find those guardrails that can help to hold it in relative balance. We're all struggling with it all the time, but trying to find relative balance so that you can focus in some of these areas more directly during this period. Okay? All right. I did want to share this. I haven't usually shared this, but I think it's important to put this out there. These are the top 5 reasons why people drop this program in the first year. Number 1, attendance. Number 1, by far. It's actually twice the size of the next nearest one. And it's attendance. Now, attendance in this institution, it is remote, so it's a little hard to think about attendance in the traditional sense of sitting in a chair in a room, means that you have engaged in academic activity, meaningful academic activity is what the Department of Ed calls it, within the last 12 days. It's almost a full 2 weeks, meaning that somehow school became the last priority, and by law, this is by law, federal law, we have no choice in this. After 12 days of no meaningful activity, they were withdrawn. So when I say that school needs to be scheduled rather than blended, I'm serious. Because it is the number 1 reason why we find that learners are unsuccessful within their first year. So again, as part of the realism of this, I'm sorry to be super downer this morning, we're all going to have cookies after this and feel better, is, again, recognizing that that's the number 1 thing. I really strongly encourage you to schedule. Put reminders in your phone, pull out whatever planner or scheduler that you use, if it's on the fridge, if it's whatever. Find a way to make sure that you are on top of what you need to do so that you don't become one of the sad statistics for me. That's not my hope. I've met the majority of this room here just before we started, and I'm really excited to meet you all at graduation. I want this to be a celebratory event, and I don't want to find out at some point that there was something that just simply got in the way and you couldn't finish. So whatever you need to do to plan. Now there are other reasons, of course. That's why I listed the others up here. Some of these are unavoidable. Things happen in life. Sometimes the journey, we have to take a pause and come back. I get it. I get it. But wanted to point, personal issues, family issues, health issues, financial issues, that's the sequence going down for why people have been unsuccessful in the first year. So when you're thinking and planning what you need to do to be successful, I encourage you to think of those areas specifically, since we know that those are areas that have tripped up other people. Want to give you just a guidepost there so you can kind of think and plan ahead. So again, plan for meaningful activity engagement. Make sure you're in your courses every week if you can, or with at least bare minimum within the 12 days. You've got to stay within that so that you stay enrolled, because it is a federal statute I have no control over. We have to pull if you're not in attendance. So please be attentive and make sure that you stay on top of what you need to do. All right. We've talked a lot about who you are. We've talked a lot about your journey. We've not spent a lot of time talking about us. So I want to spend a little time talking about who we are as an institution and what we're committing to do to help support you, right? I've mentioned a couple of resources, but I haven't really talked about who we are. Fundamentally, at our core, what are we doing here? Why was this a good choice potentially for you? And again, we're not the best choice for everyone. I recognize that too. But why might we be a good choice in helping you through your journey, right? So who are we? This is our mission statement. Hopefully you saw that on the website, kind of what we're committing to in that space. I've mentioned a couple of these concepts as we'll talk through, but we are focused on the professional nursing continuum in cognitive practice and everyday ethical comportment. Another way to think of that is confidence, competence, and compassion. We need you to have the skills, we need you to have the knowledge, and we need to know that you can perform it in a way that is compassionate and caring for the individuals of whom you're going to serve. So thinking of it in those terms, that's what that really means. It's more academic language, but the concept there is you have the knowledge, you have the skills, and you're doing it in the compassionate way. In addition to that, it is while serving diverse communities, as we mentioned. America's diverse now. We need to be thinking around diversity as the nature of who we are as a country. So serving diverse communities is also making sure that people are representative of the communities that they serve. It's not diversity for diversity's sake, it's diversity for the representation's sake and ensuring that everyone gets the care that they deserve. In addition to that, it is also making sure that we close the educational equity gaps, opportunity and access to education so that we can be representative of the communities we serve. So as an institution, that's what we're committed to being and focusing on. Making sure that you have your skills, knowledge, and you're doing it in a way that is compassionate for the clients of whom you serve, while making sure that we are serving diverse communities with access and opportunity so that, again, those who are providing care represent the communities receiving care. Outcomes are always better with that. So with that, I'll ask online. I know we have the chat going as well, but I'll ask in the room here. What stands out, if anything, from this mission statement? Does anything connect or resonate with you about who we are? Or perhaps where do you see yourself fitting in to this statement? Or do you? So we have it in the chat. We also have it in the room if anyone feels willing to, or able to comment. Brianne? Is there anyone in the chat?
Someone says better outcomes with better representation.
Absolutely. Better outcomes with better representation. That is true from the research, and it's true anecdotally. We know that that's a fact. Any other comment? It's all right if there aren't any comments yet, but I encourage you to kind of continue to think on that. Where do you see yourself fitting into this space? Again, we're here to provide a service, which is to make sure that you become the nurse that you seek to be at whatever level you're currently seeking. But we hope that we're able to do a little more than that, and that's what the mission statement says. We hope that you see a little more in that. With that too, also wanted to look at a purpose statement. So usually you look at that as like the vision statement. The vision overall, what we want to see, and then we have the mission, which is a smaller envelope of how do we think we're going to get there. The purpose, the vision statement, the big overarching thing that we want to achieve is a better world. Our seeking of that, we do it through better humanity and better health. So with that, the mission statement used to read, a better world, or better humanity, better health for a better world. This is a little different in the language. Does it change the meaning for you in switching up those terms or moving around those concepts? Brianna, anyone in the chat?
There's a whole lot going on in the chat.
We've got over 1,000 people in the chat, so it's a lot of stream.
Only over 1,200.
Yeah, it's a subtle shift. The focus is a better world now. Before it was looking at humanity, health, and then the better world kind of happening. The focus is on the better world, the world we hope to see. And we're doing that through the better humanity and better health. Again, we think the best version of you, however that looks for you, again, it's the best version of that, will ultimately help to change the world. To get to that, we also need our health. Can't do much without your health. And we're an institution here focused on providing care, right? Providing care for you to become caregivers, in addition to you providing care for others. Humanity will not become its best version if it doesn't care for the health of its people. So, kind of thinking through that, we decided to shift the order to focus on, we want a better world because we want the best people in it. And the way we get there is by ensuring that they are in the best capacity to become their best selves. And that's through their best health. So, again, that's another component of who we are as an institution and what we're hoping to achieve. So as we're looking again at your journey and what you want to be, your why, think of your why as your best version. What does that look like for you? What do you hope to achieve? We hope this journey, as hard as it may be, will help to lead you there. When you get to the return phase of your journey, that those lessons will be incorporated into the best version of you. In addition to that, we have our pathway statement. This is very much how we, as workers within this organization, as collaborators, what we call each other, employees of Nightingale Education Group, of what we focus on. It's written as an I statement because we all take this on as a personal statement. I practice self-governance through growth mindset, responsibility, and transparency. Again, part of becoming our best selves is also recognizing that we can always grow a little more. So practicing growth mindset means we know that we're flawed humans, but we're going to keep expanding and increasing our skills and capacity and trying to do our best every day. That's our commitment. It's our commitment to each other as employees. It's our commitment to you as those of us who are trying to provide the service of helping you to get through your educational journey. With that, it's responsibility and transparency. Now, those things are all coupled, right? There's such a thing as responsible transparency, as well as there is transparency with growth mindset, right? There are certain things that we share in the best way possible, as freely as we can, to help provide the best environment for all who are within it. All right. The journey begins. We're going to jump into a next phase here, right? We've spent a lot of time this morning talking. I'm sorry, a lot of it was a bit of a downer. Again, I don't want this to be a downer event. I want you to feel very positive about your journey. I want you to feel like you can be successful, because you can. We've seen thousands of people be successful through the program and get into their nursing profession. We've had wonderful success stories, incredible stories that just every day boggle my mind, that people have overcome some of the most incredible, challenging scenarios in their life to become nurses and provide care for others. It literally, I don't really have the words. The choices that they made to get to where they are consistently astound me. With this, it's your moment to decide, is this your time? You have again until next Friday. I keep repeating that because after that point, you are vested. It's a financial aid thing, so you're in. And we want you to be successful, but we want you to be very deliberate about that. So next Friday, not this Friday, week from Friday, noon. If this is not your time, no blame, no shame. It's okay. That's life. More opportunities abound. But if this is your time, fantastic. But you have until next Friday noon to make sure that you're in, and let the registrar know. I also, again, encourage you to figure out your why. What is your best version of who you want to be? What is it that you're seeking to achieve at the end of all of this? Figure out what that why is. And if you're willing, I would strongly encourage it, share it with your LSS strategist who can be there to support, to help, to navigate, to encourage. Everyone needs cheerleaders in their lives. Let's be very clear about that. So if these can be there for you, please share your why so that they can be there for you. I would also encourage you to take an inventory of your 8 dimensions of wellness. What's tugging? What's pulling on you? What might get in the way of your ability to focus in some of those dimensions that we're looking at to help you get through your journey? And what guardrails may you need to put in place so that they don't get too pulled so that you can focus? In addition, I'd encourage everyone, as we have working with Nightingale, to commit to the mission, vision, and pathway, to those statements. Better humanity, better health for a better world, that we are committed to your practical didactic and everyday ethical comportment, serving diverse communities and overcoming educational equity gaps, and also in looking at the statement, I practice growth mindset, responsibility, and transparency as a part of helping to consider how we can become our best selves together. Now again, I mentioned at the beginning, when you cross the threshold, these heroes never knew their potential. They just knew they were going to take the journey. We're in the same boat. You don't know who you can become. Right now, you may have the vision, you may have the why. I encourage you to figure out what your why is. Paths and journeys will always expand. We have some that said, I just want to work with individuals in a healthcare facility. That's all I want to do. At the end of that, they found they had such a passion for it, they've gone on to be directors of nursing for hospital systems. And they've been incredibly successful. Others thought they wanted to be that director of nursing. And they got to the end and they realized, I love the practice of everyday work with individuals. I could never leave it. And they simply became the best version of a care provider in a facility that they could. And they're doing marvelous work, stars within their facilities. We may not know our true potential yet. That may come with time. But I encourage you to figure out what you think it is now and pursue it. And let that journey continue to expand for you. All right. That's one portion of it, right? The next portion of this comes from our director of nursing. She wanted me to share a couple of things about how the program is structured and organized, right? So that we can get into the Q&A and have a little bit more of a framework for the college, right? You've gone through admissions, you've got a feel, we're a concept-based curriculum. You are gonna have to travel for your experiential learning, direct focused care settings. Those things have been explained. I wanna explain a few more components of this. So in here, concept-based curriculum, what that really means is that there are 2 major models for how people look at clinical education in America. There is the case-based model, that's very much a Harvard-based model, where you go through A to Z's process, and it walks you through from A to Z straight down, right? So you get a case. Individual presents with this. Here are all the different pieces. That's one approach. The other approach is a concept-based curriculum. Now in a concept, it says, here is presenting perfusion. Here are all the ways that perfusion happens in a situation. Now we'll give you a scenario. In the scenario, a patient presents with this issue. What are the concepts that may impact this person? And it gives you an opportunity to think through a broader range of concepts that exist in that space to say, I recognize that this may have an issue with perfusion, right? It gives you a chance to put those skills into practice. Now, part of the strength of this approach is that we'll never know everything that can happen in a case right down to the very last little detail, right? And most of the time when you get into a clinical environment, those patients who present as a clinical case don't exist. There's a spontaneous comorbidity that you didn't have on your case study, or a complication issue that is new to what you originally studied. So a concept-based curriculum's strength is that it allows you to pull all of those concepts that you've already learned to say, all right, this person's presenting with this. I know all these things are going to be related. Oh, well, they've got a comorbidity. Oh, these are other things I should consider. So it allows you to use your nurse reasoning skills in a broader concept to pull your strengths of knowledge into a single setting. So that's kind of what we're talking about in here with that, with a concept-based curriculum. In the delivery model, it includes two other components. It's one of the strengths of the program is we are a remote model. So we have a remote skills acquisition model, meaning that you'll get kits at home that you can manipulate with mannequins and figures within your individual setting, but we also have virtual reality, goggles and headsets in which you can immerse yourself in a 3D virtual simulated environment that can allow you to experience what's happening in a way that obviously no one ends up harmed. So if your patient dies 700 times, it's okay. Just start it back up and let's get back into this, right? Let's figure it out. So it lets you really focus on making sure that you have all the skills. Even experiment badly and see how it works. If you did something wrong, what would happen? That's valuable too. There's good learning to be happened in failure. So one of the nice things that's part of that is I'd encourage you, if you can, to spend time, of course, doing it properly, getting the skills, knowing exactly what you need to do, signing it off. I'd encourage you to also play on the opposite side. If something were to be different, if I were to do something different, what is the impact? Those things are teaching too. And we've got some opportunities to do that. In a lot of the other models, you end up in a skills lab, which I'm sure some of you who have been through any kind of other nursing programs have seen. You got the big old mannequin sitting in the bed. One person does it. You all stand around and watch. You spend an hour and a half while one person works, watching everyone else do the same thing, and then you get one opportunity. You do, and you're done. What happened, happened, right? Well, that means you've had an hour and a half of wasted time in many ways. It's not completely wasted. There's some research around that watching and observing is still valuable in that concept. But this allows you to spend an hour and a half in direct contact doing the skill rather than simply watching. So, is there a question?
Yes, they're asking when they'll receive their supplies.
Yes. Within each of those courses, as I'm talking about going through these, those supplies come after add drop period in the semester that you're taking that class. So again, add drop is the first 2 weeks of every semester. It's a chance to change schedule or make adjustments as needed within what's happening in your life. After that period, you're in the class. At that point, again, your fees have been charged, all those things are in, and those kits get sent to you. So you should have them usually about the third week of the semester.
Nursing courses?
What was that?
Is that when you start your nursing courses?
Yes.
So like if you have GEs, maybe your first semester, you won't receive that kit until you start your actual, okay.
And those come the class that you're enrolled in that require those materials and supplies. So every time you have a clinical course that has a skills that's attached to it, those kits will come. So if you're in a GE class or you're in another course that's within the nursing program that doesn't have a clinical component to it, you won't receive a kit for that class. It's only the classes that have the remote skills kits that require that hands-on manipulation of materials that you'll be receiving those kits. So kind of an important distinction there. Within that first semester, because we do 50% of the time that is clinical, what's traditionally referred to as clinical, it's part of the experiential learning. We do that through virtual sim, which is partly what allows this to be as remote as it is. Those virtual experiences, those virtual environments are really important that you spend the time to play in, to get the experience, because that is quite a bit of the time that we have set aside for it. Does that make sense? Is anyone confused on that? Okay. All right. Now there's a lot of writing up here. You don't have to read it all. I just wanted to explain. This is all the textbook language. It's in your catalog as well. So you can look at the college catalog if you want to read all the dialogue later. But what this is, experiential learning is a lot of the manipulation, hands-on, clinical skill prep kind of stuff that's in the curriculum. There are 4 major components of that. So when you hear acronyms, I'm giving you a quick primer on acronyms that you're going to hear. The first one up there is VCBC. It's a virtual case-based client. What that is the simulated person. So when you're going into your VR, you're going into the headsets, you're doing those things, those are VCBCs. So you may have a VCBC follow-up, which is the time that you spend talking through the scenarios that you did in your virtual environment with a faculty. So it's not entirely virtual. You do the skills yourself, and then you meet to discuss. So there's that feedback and follow-up that's a crucial part of the VCBC. Now, as part of the VCBC too, you schedule your own time that you're going to do those. So there's a scheduler. You sign up for those times. Again, you only need to do that in the courses that you have those. It is listed. You will get notifications on that before you have to do it. If you're not starting a nursing course immediately here, you're in a GE or something like that, don't even worry about it. It's not there yet. You don't have it yet. But do watch your emails for courses that you're going into, because it will send you the information for the scheduler. It's usually not in the first week. It's usually the second week or after that you do the scheduling of that. But you get to schedule the time, so you can blend it into your schedule of when you're going to do your debriefs. The VCBCs can be done at any time. You need to get them done. They are scheduled throughout the semester in your curriculum, but you get to blend those in when is convenient, right? But again, this goes back to scheduling in, not blending in. So think through that. The DFCs, those are direct focused care. That's in a facility with clients under supervision, okay? So those are pretty traditional, what most people refer to as a clinical experience. That's a direct focused care experience and experiential learning when you are in a live client environment, okay? And those are the ones that we talked about you will be traveling for. Again, it's based off of where we have the partnership facilities, where state laws allow us to do rotations and all of that. We're continually trying to increase those so the opportunities will be closer to home where possible, but it is a travel experience, so everyone should be planning on that. The AFE, that's an applied field experience. That's not a direct client experience, but it is something where you're using your nurse skills in a life setting. So you don't stop being a nurse because you're not in front of a client in a work environment, right? Your nurse reasoning skills continue on everywhere that you go. So it's an opportunity to find another space in your community where those skills are applicable and discuss how those nurse skills and concepts exist in a broader context, okay? We've had amazing things come from that too. Some people going into falling in love with this kind of concept and going into public health settings or working for state regulatory bodies that are working with nurses as consultants to improve the environment of care for everyone. So there's some amazing things that have come from AFEs. It is an important part of your experiential learning, but it is a way to expand your nurse reasoning into non-client touching spaces. So with that, we also have integrated practicum. This is the big one. This is the very end of your program, and this is the time that is your traditional, almost like a residency, if you want to use that term, a lot of people are more familiar with. Integrated practicum is a longer experience where you're working one-on-one with a preceptor in a clinical environment with a care load. So it's that final experience when you've gone through all the other education, right before you're getting ready to sit for your exams. So it's that last transition to practice moment where you know that you're ready to take on the space, okay? So those are the 4 components that are it's all experiential learning. So if they say experiential learning, ask them to clarify. Because they may just say, oh, it's your VCBC or it's your DFC, something like that. Well, all of these are experiential learning. They're all major component of that. So if you hear the acronym, now you're a little bit more aware. With that, DFC rotations. This is the big one because, of course, this is travel, so this is money, this is time. So this is harder to schedule, and we know that it's challenging. So let me assuage some of the things that you may be feeling. First one, to make sure that those are there, please pay attention to your credentialing emails that are coming out. Again, those are the requirements that have been placed upon us as an institution to ensure that you can go to their facilities. We are guests in those facilities. We don't run them, we don't own them, we don't make exceptions for them. Those facilities tell us what they need us to have you be prepared to go into them. Those are your vaccinations and the traditional things that they require, background check in certain states. So that's credentialing. When you get those notifications about getting credentialed, it's because we absolutely have to have those things in place so that you can go into the facilities. It's not our doing, it's the requirement of those facilities. So please, when those are coming out, do pay attention, be proactive. The credentialing team is there to support you. They are phenomenal. If you're just starting out in GEs, don't worry yet. You'll receive information about it. You don't have to worry. If you're going into nursing classes immediately, you should have received some information already. If you haven't, please reach out to your faculty and just double check. But again, you should have already received that information if it was important for this semester. Otherwise, wait, watch for the emails, go ahead and get yourself prepared, but you should be in a place already. With that, every state has requirements. It's also why I have California pulled out, is because there are so many of you in California. Love you, California. The state of California has certain requirements that are specific to the state of California. So there are some things in there that will call out requirements that you must have. It also gets into, when we're talking about DFC rotations and everyone must travel, what we mentioned before, all California must travel outside of California. That is California state law right now. That doesn't allow us. If those of you in California want to help us in helping to get that legislation changed, there are emails that we send out that are ways that you can become involved in the political side, the activist side of trying to get that legislation changed so that we can do rotations in the state. We have an active political agenda in the state to try to help support the change of that law and regulation. But more information to come on that. If you wish to be involved, watch your emails. More comes out for that for California. Other states here, we are relatively close here in Brooklyn to other sites that are here in New England. So traveling to Pennsylvania or Baltimore or even up to Maine, we're relatively close, or what we have in this space. But again, we will do our best to try to accommodate. If you have, let's see, I'll get to that in a second. Some states have compacts with credentialing, so that just means that your credentials are accepted across state lines if you choose to do other pieces of that. We have training and orientation related to your credentialing and the faculty and learner coordination in that. More information will come. Point of it is, again, watch your emails, be attentive to the details. They do a really fabulous job of giving you an extended period before it's required so that you can find some time to get whatever you need to get done, okay? The requirements for credentialing are posted online as well. They're in the catalog. There's accessibility if you want to start looking into what those requirements would be and see kind of where you are before the email comes. You can do that to be proactive. But again, emails will come, information will come. They give you lots of time to make sure that you're ready. The one thing I will note out here is the schedule variation form. Life events happen. There are things that you know, knee replacements, pregnancies, things like that, where you're going to have a period of time where you know you're going to be out, right? You cannot do a DFC on a new knee. You can't do it when you've just had a new baby. Those things are just not possible. We get that. There's a recovery period where you need time to adjust. If you know those life events are happening, you know that they're coming up and they're going to come up in the next semester, because usually those surgeries or those medical events are known in advance. There is a schedule variation form that is available from credentialing. You can reach out or schedule support at nightingale.edu, and they can help. If you tell us what those times are, we take that into consideration and try to make all the adjustments so that we get you either in before or after the necessary rest period, so that we can make sure that you continue to progress in the normal way. Again, we're making coordination for over 7,000 learners nationwide to go in clinical spaces in just those several states that we showed on here. So it's a lot. It's a lot to coordinate. So the more you can give us advance warning, the more possibility there's an opportunity to make the adjustments so that we don't have to put you in like an incomplete and have you complete the next semester, because that will slow down your graduation time. If we can't get you in earlier or make adjustments around that. So if you know it's coming, do yourself and us a help and get us the schedule variation form so that we know how to try to make adjustments to support you, okay? So just making a note on that. If you know something's going to come up, please follow the procedure and get us the information. We usually try to do that the semester before, at least. So if you know it's coming up, let us know that semester before. Otherwise, we don't try to plan a year in advance just because of the changes in clinical sites where guests and their schedules change. So it's usually a semester before. So just another note on that. All right, questions? All right, what happens if I'm studying maternity but placement is in a long-term care setting, right? We have lots of clinical settings. We're a concept-based curriculum. So your clinical locations could be in a variety of different kinds of settings. You may be in acute, you may be in long-term care, you may be in an LTAC, you may be in a variety of other clinical environments, right? All of it's nursing, all of it's important. Within that space, Depending on what course you're in, we do try to marry the clinical experience directly to the curriculum, but sometimes that's not possible given the locations and spaces. Luckily, it's a concept-based curriculum. So the concepts of things like perfusion can be found in long-term care, maternity, acute, anywhere, right? Those concepts are applicable in any kind of a clinical setting. So what I would recommend when you're going into those clinical settings is working with your clinical faculty and talking with them about the concept that you're focused on and seeing if they can help you to find those connections and those spaces so that you get the most rich experience from your clinical environment as possible, okay? Again, you will rotate through a variety of different kinds of things. You're not going to be focused in only one location type. But with that, again, I'd encourage you to really work with your faculty to pull the most out of any location that you may find yourself for these clinical rotations. Again, it's concept-based, so these concepts are applicable in virtually all those different environments. They'll just look different across the lifespan, of course. All right, with that, what happens if I miss a rotation? This one's dicey. Missing a rotation is a lot because, again, we're coordinating 7,000 people nationwide across those clinical facilities. We may or may not be able to reschedule you in some of these locations within the semester. If we can't, that means we may have to give you an incomplete for that semester, and that would extend you into the next semester. Depending on when we can get you in for that rotation, that may extend graduation. So my strongest encouragement, if you think you're going to miss, the sooner you can let us know, the better, so that we can try to get another learner into that spot if possible. Again, trying to accommodate for any variation that may exist in other people's schedules too, so that we can try to get everything completed in that semester for everyone and give everyone the opportunity to keep progressing without extending out. We don't like extending your schedules, but sometimes it's inevitable, necessary, because life happens. But again, the sooner you can let us know what's happening, the sooner a crisis emerges, the better for us to be able to try to make adjustments. If you let us know 2 weeks after an event occurs, it's a lot harder for us to say you just kind of missed it, right? And that's a problem because that means you didn't complete all the requirements of the course. It would likely end up in a fail for the course and a repeat. Nobody wants that. So again, as soon as you know something has cropped up, as soon as something dangerous is happening, let us know. We will try to work with you as best we can to try to make things happen. But it really is a lot individual driven. You have to let us know. We can't read the tea leaves and find out what's happening in your life. And then what are the expectations when I attend my DFC? We get this a lot in this early forum. We got lots of things for you on that. So dress codes and when to show up, how to present. Again, every clinical rotation you're going to have is basically a job interview, and consider it as such. As large as the nation is, nursing is small. People know each other, they talk to each other, they know who you are everywhere. So reputations can follow. I really strongly encourage, again, we have lots of things on professional comportment, how to present, how to dress, how to act in clinical spaces. We want you to be successful, so please, as much as you can, follow those. Listen to your faculty, have them support you. There's lots of things coming out on that. So again, just watch for the documentation we have coming out. You don't need to worry too much at this juncture yet. Please.
There's a question. Are you able to request a DFC with a friend or family member that is on the same course as you to save money?
So the trick there, we do want you to save money, and we do want you to try to figure out what that's going to look like. There are certain levels of risk that the organization confirms when we're trying to coordinate individuals to travel together, because that also now gets into your housing situation. We have control over what happens in the DFC location, but not necessarily in your hotels or in those environments. However, if we were to plan to have you travel with someone else and stay in a hotel and something happens, we share the liability in a way that is not very sustainable for us. The risk level there is beyond what we can sustain. So we typically don't advertise who's going to individual locations, partly out of safety of individual learners. There are some forums that have been set up by learners to share when they're traveling to certain locations and coordinate with each other. but that's something that because of the risk liability that exists in a broader context, we can't own. So that gets a little bit, I know, unsatisfactory in certain ways. I do want to say, we do want to encourage you to coordinate with each other and to find those links. You can try to make requests, and we'll try to accommodate those as best as possible, but we can't guarantee those given facilities, given rotational space, given the volume of learners that are going in different locations around the country. Again, we're coordinating. I think last I saw, it was something like 47,000 instances of DFC rotations per semester, because that's looking at each of your individual rotations and the days. So it's a lot to try to get all of those nuances coordinated out. So again, we will do our best. We try. We can't own the liability side of what we're describing about getting you into facilities with other learners, but there are forums that have been set up again so that you can try to coordinate with each other. I'm sorry if that's a little less than totally satisfactory, but please.
They are more like now asking clarifying questions about the DFC itself. Can we schedule people that know each other in the DFC?
If you're going to a DFC with people you know, you're more than welcome to coordinate and stay with each other. That's fine. We are not coordinating for you or trying to make those connections specifically because of the liability. Okay. All right, let's keep rolling. We've got just a few more things here. I want to try to get you out in a semi-timely manner, right? I'm not very good at this, am I? So, NCLEX RN. It's your licensure exam at the end of the journey. So within that space, it looks at your didactic thinking and academic preparation of knowledge. Again, that gets to the knowledge side. Do you have the clinical skill expertise to go into those settings? It's not necessarily focused on your practice. So can you do things? It's saying, do you know things? And that's the primary thing that it's looking at within the NCLEX. Within that space, we have the HESI exams, which are predictor exams that help us to know how well you're preparing or tracking towards the successful completion of that. Right now, the benchmark that they have set as being almost like a 97% likelihood of you passing is a 900 benchmark. That's what it's called on the exam. It goes up to about 1,300. Within that space, we have a benchmark that's slightly lower for where we feel that we can continue to support people through. So we go down to 800 and 850 are those benchmark spaces where we have some additional coaching and some additional support that is mandatory to help do some remediation, but won't stop your progress, right? If you're scoring below 800, that's going to be a repeat in that space because it's not sufficient to get closer to the benchmark. But I want to be very clear. Our benchmark is set below what's recommended by HESI because we've seen success in remediation if people engage in that space. And again, we don't want to slow people down in progress as much as possible. So we've got some other things in place if you are scoring a little bit lower to get you up to speed. But just wanted to make that a little bit known that we're trying to support you in a slightly different way without creating just a hard stop. So we do have HESI coaches, NCLEX coaches at each level within the program. So no matter which HESI you're taking, they can help you with the test prep, with the question prep, with understanding, with models, with anxiety, because it is anxiety inducing. I'm well aware of that. All tests are. So there are several components that we have in place to support you there. And then also clinical practice. Client-centered care and the application of skills in a care setting, experiential learning activities are all designed to provide your nurse, singing clinical. Again, that all gets back into the experiential learning components of direct focused care. So that kind of takes us through. Again, 2 more points from our Director of Nursing in here, just as a reminder. One is professional comportment. We are guests in the facilities, so we require that everyone align both to the Nightingale standard that we send, but also the facility standards, which you'll have in your orientation, because again, we're guests. So it's their facility, they're inviting us in. We need to make sure we're at the highest level of professional practice so that we can continue to have the experience in the facility and for other learners. Again, clients are partners. It's a privilege to be in those spaces. It's a contract between us and them as we go through those facilities. Those clients are their responsibility and ours, as we're assuming some of that responsibility in being in that care setting. Your appearance, your attitude, your language that you use, again, it's all job interview kind of thing to think through. So make sure you're kind of coming with the best of you And every engagement is that job interview. We've had lots of learners who have ended up with employment at the end of those experiences that have been offered jobs. We have lots of others who, when they were looking for jobs, their employer that was looking for them called the clinical site to ask how well they performed. So again, kind of think about that this may impact potential employment at the end, how you choose to comport yourself in these facilities. We want you to be successful. So anything we can do to help prep, train, support, we're here for you. And also the ethical behavior. Integrity is the profession. One of the main reasons why nursing is listed as one of the most trusted professions in America every single time the survey is taken is partly because we don't have choices. And I mean that with love and respect. But when people are ill, they're coming to you at their most vulnerable. Families have to extend that trust because they have nowhere else to turn. So integrity, being worthy of that trust, is the profession. It is 100% that. So integrity is very important to the institution in how we present ourselves. We have systems and processes. They matter. They matter in facilities. They matter within the college. We have regular auditing of our own systems and processes to make sure that we're treating everyone the same, right, in their conditions and with respect to their circumstances. But systems and processes matter because it's the integrity of the individuals that at stake. We also see that response to challenge is also a key. When things come up and they get hard, how we choose to engage with those problems is part of what will make us who we are going forward. So we try to prep for how we are going to present ourselves when challenges come along. Again, where do I go for support or understanding, and whose values do I value? In every care environment, you're presented with people who look, feel, act, speak differently than you. Whose values will you value? How can you respect the human dignity of the individual who's presented to you in a way that's still providing them the utmost possible care? So there will be a lot within your curriculum and your experience that will focus on how can we make better humanity while providing their better health at the same time. So if there are any questions on any of that, happy to answer. We're right at the end of our time. So I just wanted to say, if there are any last minute lingering things, these are just things that always end up coming up. Please.
You mentioned getting the sets when we start the semesters with those classes. Do we then send them back and then we keep them for the whole? Okay.
Yep. So the things that come to you in those kits are yours to keep. Those are products and materials and supplies that are all part of your learner fees. So as you paid for those, you've paid for them. And that also comes to things like the VR goggles that you're going to need for your simulations. Those come to you. They're included within your fees. They'll be sent in your box, and they're yours to keep. So you also get all the mannequin pieces and all the, the gauze and the gloves and everything else that are going to be needed so that you can demonstrate sterile field even if you're at your kitchen table doing a skills video, right? All those things are provided for you.
As well as the uniforms. Because I know I did get an email about the uniforms.
Yeah.
Do we get a voucher or like a gift card or something?
There is a voucher for uniforms, and that allows you to get a few sets of the uniforms. They will be embroidered with Nightingale on them. So again, it's a price point, so you can choose to either get multiple sets of the slightly less expensive scrubs, or if you already have sets of scrubs that meet the classifications, you can buy some more expensive scrubs, a little bit more of the finer. But we didn't want to just say everyone has to get the exact same thing, point blank, it's all done. We know many people who come to Nightingale are already healthcare providers in their own right and have many sets of scrubs that may meet the qualifications. So we wanted to provide an opportunity for them to also potentially expand what they have available to them. So it's a voucher, yeah.
Get that voucher now or when we're in the program? Because we would need them before we start, right?
Right. Before in your clinical environment, the course before is when you receive the voucher so that you can get them in advance of when you're going into the space. So just watch for the email. The voucher will come and you can order the scrubs right off. Yeah. Please.
There just needs to be clarification about the badge as well.
Badge will come at the same time. So when you get the information around how to purchase your scrubs, there's information about how to order the badge, which is also in that same kit, and it will just simply be mailed to you. Yeah. Any other questions? I know most of the questions that come up now are logistical. I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, I don't know what this is going to look like. What did you have, Brian?
There's someone asking about discounts offered through school for flights and hotels.
There is an opportunity, if you need some help in making coordination of those, that we do have some discounts that exist. There's travel support within the organization where, because we have so many people who travel all the time, there are discounts that may exist for hotels or for flight arrangements, but you'd have to reach out to our travel support to find out what those are for your individual areas. Go ahead.
So the DFC would be per semester that's the 4 days, and then the IP would be at the end of the okay.
Yep.
The 4 days each semester that you're in one of those nursing classes.
Each one of those courses that have one attached, yes, and we've tried to stagger those so there was only be one of those per semester in the plan. So you should only have to do a 4-day rotation each semester until you get to the IP, and the IP is a more clinical intensive time. Please.
What happens if your clinical instructor is not well?
We have backups. So we have clinical instructors that we can send from all over the nation. We have over 100 DFC instructors that are deployed almost all the time, and we have backup in case an instructor is ill, so that we can make sure that there's always appropriate supervision for every one of your clinical experiences. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of logistical questions coming through. Will you just let them know who they can reach out to get these questions answered?
Again, we're talking credential support. If you need help with that and getting prepared for those clinical experiences, those emails will be sent to you. There's also an email at credentialsupport@nightingale.edu that you can reach out to. If you're looking at the travel arrangements and you're already required to start making those, which for those of you who are just starting now, you shouldn't have received your DFC placements yet. Those will be sent after the ad drop period. If you need help in making arrangements for the travel after that, you can reach out to travel support at nightingale.edu. They should be able to provide, if there are benefits or any discounts that exist because of relationships that we have with facilities and types. If you're looking at your schedule and you know you've got a clinical, a DFC experience that's coming up very quickly and you have an emergency that's emerged, you can reach out to schedule support at nightingale.edu, and they should be able to try to help you in figuring out if there's documentation or forms that need to be filled out so that you can make arrangements there. I think those are the 3 major spaces where we end up getting most of the logistical questions. Other things, again, scrubs, you'll get your vouchers. Those are coming in your email. Watch your email. If you're looking for your kits, those will come after the ad drop period. Again, it's ensuring that you're in the course before the kit is sent. That's part of the operational logistics, so you shouldn't receive anything in this first 2 weeks. But if you are in one of those classes that would have a skills attached, you'll receive those after that. So don't worry about anything. You're already on the list. If you stay on the list because you stay in the course, you'll have those kits sent. So you don't need to worry too much about that. Otherwise, most of the other things that we talk about that get logistical in nature, watch your email. Those emails are sent repeatedly and in advance. So you should be able to coordinate with them, and they have additional follow-ups in those emails if there's anything else you need. Does that help, Brianne?
Yes. Will you just also tell them where to find the Nightingale College handbook? What are we calling it now?
College Catalog. It's found right on the website. If you go to nightingale.edu, you can find the college catalog within that space. Again, it'll have these definitions listed out. It has the learner code of conduct posted in that space and what the processes are if there's a concern or a violation that exists. It'll walk you through all of our course catalog, the courses that are in there. It'll identify if a course has a DFC or experiential learning component to it, because it has a grid that marks out the hours that are attached to every course for the different aspects of that course. So experiential learning is all broken out in those environments as well. There's a lot in your college catalog that I do encourage you to take a look at, policies, procedures, as well as all the information about courses are all posted in there. Anything else, Brianne? All right. We've been here for quite a long time. I'm sure many of you are just chomping at the bit to get back to Cinco de Mayo. So we're going to let you all get back. Whatever celebration you've got going on today. It's the start of the semester, which is celebration in its own right, but it's also potentially a holiday for those who celebrate. I want to thank you all for spending the time with me today. Thank those who are here in Brooklyn who made the effort to be here in person, but also thank all of you who have been across the nation, over 1,000 strong, who are just starting out on their journey too. Again, I wish you all the best. I want all of you to be successful. One of my chief joys is being able to be here at orientation and then to be at commencement and seeing the happy faces who made it all the way through. So if I have met you, I look forward to seeing you, hopefully very soon, across that finish line. For those online, I look forward to shaking your hands as well. I wish you all the best. If there's anything you need, again, there's lots of ways to get in contact with us to try to find support. Lean on your LSS strategist. They are your mentor guides through this whole journey. They know how to navigate the system. They know how to get you to resources. So please lean on them. If there are any questions about where you need to go, what you need to grab, your LSS strategist can be there for you all the way along the journey. So make them your friends. Again, find your why, share your why, think about your 8 dimensions, decide if this is your time to make this successful move. I hope it is. You've made the commitment up to this point. If it's not, again, no blame, no shame, love and respect. I'm glad you're aware of your circumstances and situation and hope we can be here for the future for you. But you have until next Friday at noon to make sure that you're ready to roll. With that, we love you. We wish the best for you. Very much looking forward to seeing you at graduation. For all of those online, a statement we say around here related to the flame of Florence Nightingale. Flame forward, and we look forward to seeing you at commencement. Thank you everyone for being with us. We'll see you soon.